What's going on, everybody? Happy first day of August. BobbyFi and Eric Sheetshaber, and I'm a little under the weather. My throat's a little messed up, so maybe I'll let Sheets do a little more of the talking. But I would just start off by saying look, I've had another good. I've had three profitable days in a row, which is nice, even though they haven't been significant. Very strange to win with the 5-man Dodger stack yesterday, but my other pieces were good enough. And Sheets, I'm sure you know the feeling because you had your big buy-in. You obviously finished really deep. Talk a little bit about that, and then we'll jump into today's slate.
Yeah, well, let's don't take this what I'm going to tell you for what it's worth. So you saw that I did like all of the different sims, and I did all the different attacks of the lottery, and I did them all live yesterday. The only thing that I didn't let SaberSim touch was my big buy-in tournament, which is completely built by hand and by feel. Not by hand and by feel. I used my own projections, and I just looked and I saw who was rated the best, made a couple of pivots, and just built the whole freaking thing from single by scratch. And I had it all set together like 5 p.m. and I couldn't think of any reason to change it at any point leading up to lock, and then I couldn't think of any reason to change it after lock, and I just kind of rolled with it. So that's why it's so funny. Like in that tournament, I ended up like 7th with like 3 zeros from like my angel stacks, because listen, we talked about this online. We made a very thoughtful pivot to Logan Webb over Dylan Cease, and he was half the ownership, and he smashed, and that put me in a really good spot. Now I will also be happy to know that I was completely covered, by the way, even if my Angels guys went off. Nerdy Tanner had basically the same guys I had. It was a little bit ahead of me, so I was never going to win regardless of what happened. Right. But in any case, we'll certainly take it, and moving on to the next one.
Nice, sounds good. Just to give a heads up about today, basically every game has some sort of weather concern. So
I was about to ask about that.
Yeah, the only one that looks really serious is the Cubs game.
Yes,
that one that looks like it might have the most serious concern. Everything else probably plays fine. That's the only one we're worried about, and it's early in the day, so we'll have to figure that out as we go later. All right, Baltimore, Cleveland. You got what do we have? Lively and Williams. Is that what it is?
Looks like Lively and Trevor Rogers, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry about that. I meant Rogers, not Williams. Do you like either of these pitching things here? I think I probably won't touch the pitching, is my guess. And
I will not be touching the pitching either. It's interesting, I when we get to some of the pitchers that I think are okay, it is really spread out as far as I'm concerned. And I see a couple of guys at 35% ownership. There's just no reason for it today.
Yeah.
But we'll get there, I suppose. I guess the hitting is where you're probably going to want to dabble, if at all, here. Let me just see. Baltimore, Cleveland. Yeah, I mean, Baltimore, I guess, is always in play. Yeah, I have them. I actually do like Baltimore. So Baltimore, I guess, and Cleveland. I'm looking at this. Baltimore 3rd, Cleveland 4th as far as raw projection. Neither of their values look all that great. So, yep, sure. Some Baltimore, some Cleveland, no pitching.
Yeah, so here's I guess my only nervous thing is the thing I point out every day about Cleveland having like the greatest bullpen in the history of the bullpens.
Yeah, who needs it, right? That's like,
yeah, why do I want to pick on that? But otherwise, I would be a little bit interested just in the first matchup for the Orioles. I think I'll probably end up getting to some Orioles today. That's probably where I end up personally. But it's pretty much going to be it. Wouldn't surprise me if Rogers was okay, but I don't think we need to do it. I think there's other guys to consider. All right, KC and Detroit.
Another kind of softish spot for Kansas City. The hitting is going to look like really, really strong and really, really popular. At least that's what I'm seeing right now. And Seth Lugo I have as one of a whole bunch of pitchers really that are really they're too close to another for me to like say, okay, Seth Lugo is clearly the best play. Just to be justifying 35% ownership,
Right.
So I'm probably going to end up doing something else. Except I will say that it is a good spot. He is a good pitcher. It is a good matchup. But I'll probably end up just going a little lower owns depending on how ownership projections play out. And Kansas City, I feel like I should say the same thing. They look really good. They're going to be really chalky. don't play them with chalky pitchers. That's the best I can describe it, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that Lugo is definitely a guy who, he's, like you said, he's one of the guys to consider. Again, if Kansas City is going to be this popular, I'm sort of deciding I probably won't take them as a full stack and just live with the results. I think that one way to get different on this slate though would be to play Detroit, and I think Lugo's been a lot better this year maybe than people have given him credit for, but there is some volatility with him as well. And I think that you could play a cheap Detroit stack and on a slate like this and actually make some sense. So something I'm certainly considering as one of my stacks today. And everybody sub 10% on a 5-gamer sounds pretty good to me. Lugo, I do think, like I said, I don't think he's invincible, and I might end up with some Tigers today myself.
Only because he's 5,500. I bring him up. Any interest in Montero or not really?
I think it's worth maybe taking a stab or two. It's a different, he's still not going to be owned. So yeah, I think you could. I'm just going to double check what his expected pitch count is.
He goes 5 innings. I mean,
yeah, they got him at 90. That's good enough for me. Yeah, I think that's worth a stab or two. Sure. All right, Miami and Atlanta, Morton and Meyer.
Yeah, so Morton is rating to be the best play by a little bit. And again, 38% ownership. You have to pay. You got to pay for the best projection. That's the way it is, I guess. I mean, relative to his price. So he looks good. And then I will have to say, I mean, I'm just calling it like I see it. The top overall value stack for me today by a little bit are the Miami Marlins, actually. So very, very interesting that they have the best pitcher value and the best hitting value against them. So call that what it is. I also have Atlanta rated decently as well. So obviously Atlanta is going to be more popular than Miami by a long shot. So I'm going to play probably both sides of this. I'll play some Morton, and if I get to these Miami value guys, get a little bit of leverage, I don't think that's the worst play I've ever made.
So yeah, so just to recap, so Miami played Miami at the trade deadline, literally the first time the most players ever traded from their roster. Out of the 27 players, they traded 9. This is a minor league team that's playing in the major leagues. Morton, I think, is by far and away the best option. And I don't mind because of their price. Again, they might be minor leaguers, but Jonah Bride is not anything special, but he's 2.4K batting cleanup. You're great hitting 90-degree weather in Atlanta. They did score 6 runs yesterday. I don't know if I could get to a 5-man stack of them.
No way.
It doesn't quite make sense. But I think getting a 3 or 4-man or using them as complementary pieces with guys like Sanchez, Bride, Stowers is 2,900 batting third. Jake Berger as power. So I think mixing them in if you're not playing Morton is probably a good idea. In fact, if I was like building 150, one thing I was considering would I say any lineup without Morton, do I just play at least one of these Marlins just because they save you money? I think it's kind of interesting anyway. But I don't like the full stack. I do like Morton. I do think that getting to some of the pieces though makes a lot of sense in non-Morton lineups.
So I see that there's rain possibilities. You're saying in St. Louis, Chicago. What's the wind situation? There's the wind blowing in. I see like a kind of some good projections out of the pitchers here.
It's actually like just basically neutral. It's only like 5 miles an hour blowing out.
Okay.
But
I guess I'm just getting there because they're good pitchers, I guess.
Yeah.
So Sonny Gray and Shota Imanaga, they are both projecting. See, this is what I'm looking at. They're both projecting for me by within like a percentage point of each other as far as fantasy points go. And I have Sonny Gray at 35% ownership and Shota Imanaga at 25. So if that's what they're going to do to me, I think Imanaga is a clear priority here. So like him a lot. Sonny Gray, 35% owned against Chicago. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. I'd rather play Imanaga and then maybe do something else. Anyway, that's what I like here. I like Imanaga more than Sonny Gray.
I agree with you. And Sonny Gray is not a guy I generally like to stack against, but you got to try and think about everything on these smaller slates. I think getting some Cubs is, again, just a worthwhile thing. I mean, we haven't talked. The only full stack that that I like. I haven't really found one that I really like. I think Atlanta makes a lot of sense, obviously, but I think they're going to be so chalky. It's just a matter of what you want to get involved in. I think getting to some Cubs is certainly a way to differentiate, and that's sort of been the theme of what I've been saying this morning. Like Detroit to get a little different, Miami to get a little different, to Chicago to get a little different. But really, that's what it is. And I have Imanaga ahead of Gray, but close enough. But I think that I've got Imanaga a little bit ahead.
So I'm telling you, I'm not biased. I'm not tilted. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not annoyed. Okay, and I'm not saying this just because I'm still pissed off at the Angels. Okay, but what the hell's wrong with Feltner at 6K? Angels are the worst. Okay, and I'm using that full 1 game sample size to come up with that thing. But the reality is that I'm getting him with 12 fantasy point projection at 6K at 15% ownership on a slate where I'm looking for something. So I don't mind. And I'll tell you something else. Now that I'm bringing it up, the other side of this, Fulmer, whoever that is, he's a righty against Colorado. So how about fading all the pitchers and playing both these guys? The only problem with that is it's a small slate where there's no stack that costs anything, that I want.
Right.
Like, who do I want to do? Pay up for all the Baltimore guys so that I can get frustrated with the Cleveland bullpen, like you were saying? Right. What other stack even has guys that I really want to play that are expensive? They don't exist. So I don't think I'm going to end up doing it, But I will say that the Angels are bad. They're bad at least for a day, and Feltner at 6K. I think it's not the worst play in the world. Now, with respect to the hitting, now I'm going to put talk with both sides of my mouth. Feltner also kind of sucks. So I think the Angels are actually a pretty good stack also. So Angels press the 5 and 9, like press the Angels. And also, maybe I'll try some Feltner against them also.
Yeah. I don't fault you for it. I happen to really like that. I really like Morton. I think if I was playing like a bunch of lineups, I'd probably have Morton in like 70% of them today. Okay. I think I'd probably have like 40% of Lugo, and then I would mix in some of the Imanaga and then Gray. So I don't know that I would get to these guys. Fulmer is getting a hell of a projection. Somebody's going to have to explain that one to me. For what it's worth, Feltner on the road has actually been decent, and over his last number of starts, he's been solid. I think that it's probably tricks, and it's probably
he takes the Kyle Freeland drugs.
Yeah. So I'm going to sign up for the going right back to the Angels here. I know they're going to have some ownership tonight as well, but we have to do something. I can't just not play anybody. So I have the Angels as the priority 5-man along with Atlanta. Like those are my 2 favorite stacks. And my next is Colorado. I think Colorado you're going to get low ownership on. So I think that I ended up most of my plays tonight being some form of Angels, Colorado, and Atlanta, with potential for pieces from Baltimore, and maybe some of the Miami value. Just sort of that'll be how I'm doing my builds. I will have heavily Morton and Lugo the most, but I'll have some other stuff too. And as I always mention, I personally probably do not end up stacking today. I don't really like any of the stacks except for Atlanta, and they're going to be very popular. I'm looking at some pretty good home run props here. So I like the idea of, trying to get to guys like, even if you're not that interested, the highest projected home run guy today is Wilson Contreras against Imanaga, which is kind of interesting because he's not going to be owned. Most of these guys who have the best home run props for the day, and for that matter, the best stolen base props, are actually going to be low owned outside of Bobby Witt. So I am going to try to build around a group of the 10 best home run ideas today, and that's going to end up with guys like Ozuna, who's going to be popular, but it's not going to be popular to have Ozuna with Wilson Contreras and other spend ups that don't come from the same stack of any kind. So I am going to try and treat the slate a little different and not fully stack as much, and see how it goes.
The only thing that I thinking back that I was fiddling around with that I considered doing differently yesterday was, instead of I had the 3-man Cubs with the 5-man A's,
Mhm.
And I was screwing around to see if I preferred to make it the 5-man Cubs and the 3-man Angels. And I looked at different lineups like that. And at the end of the day, I think I just like the flexibility of the later game.
Yeah.
That's why I went with what I did. And I don't think I would have ended up winning, but I definitely would have ended up keeping Ohapi as one of the Angels 3-mans because I didn't like any of the catchers for the Cubs. So it was he was gonna be one of them. And I definitely would have added. Probably Suzuki would have been added in place of something like Adele or Drury or one of my Angels guys.
Sure.
And well, we'll see. Listen, but I chose what I chose. That's it.
Yeah. No, but I think you're making a good point.
So here's the Sabre Sim results. And again, I just did a full thing, and there it is, 98% St. Louis Cardinals. So of course.
Okay, so that's interesting. I just want to touch on that real quick because let me just see. This is a team that St. Louis, and the projections do it every time they face a lefty. Every single time you get St. Louis, St. Louis love everywhere. But in reality, St. Louis has the second lowest OPS in all of baseball against lefties. They're the bottom 10 in home runs against lefties. I don't know, man. It's like the projections. I know long term is important, but these guys have had a whole year, and none of them are really doing much against lefties. So,
oh my God,
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that one out myself.
Sabre Sim is just as on tilt as I am. First run, they want 62% Ryan Feltner.
Oh my God, yeah. There you go.
They are really steamed. They had all the Angels just like I did yesterday, and they want revenge.
Oh, that's funny.
But but again, that's just the let's run the Sims just to see what it looks like. That is, I was actually a little surprised at that. I didn't think that. I did not think that's what they were going to do.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Let's do the let's add the Sims here, and then let's run these and see what we get. Boy, that is so surprising. Like all the Cardinals with Feltner. I guess. I don't know why. Like you said, the Cardinals just are kind of loved by the optimizers like every single time.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Walk-off home run. Hold on, I gotta wait for the lottery one to show up. Well, look at it. If it were the 555, it still wants me to play the Cardinals. All right, here's relay throw. Relay throw, risk-adjusted ROI. We'll sort by that. And it would be, only 52% St. Louis because you got to save it for 46% Miami. So,
right.
So I guess no matter what you try to do, they're going to want to really make you play the Cardinals. But like I say, this is in fact the United States of America, and you can play whoever you want. But for now, I am going to save all this in here just so I have something to save, and we will get back. You want to go over? Oh, sorry. Do you want to go over your priorities again, or?
No, I sort of did. Yeah, I think it's some combination of Atlanta, Colorado, and the Angels. And like I said, I'm going to be focusing more on, the guys who I like to not necessarily just because they have home run props, but the guys who have some upside. And maybe doing some, some funky stuff, some 3-2-1-1-1s or 3-3-1s, 3-3-2s. I don't think any stack is that desirable to me that's not going to have ownership. Atlanta's the only one I think fits that mold. And I think just by setting them to 4 or 3 instead of 5 is basically what I'm going to do. Along with the main pitching will be mostly Morton and then some Lugo, and then I will get to Imanaga followed by Gray personally.
All right.
Okay. All right. Good.